Welcome everyone to today's webinar hosted by Caring.com. Today we'll be discussing tips for converting online home care leads and what you can do to help get your caregivers in the door. As we begin, I'd like to cover a few housekeeping items for today's webinar. This is a one-way webcast, meaning only the presenters from Caring will have video and audio throughout today's presentation. However, we'd still love to hear from you. At any point throughout the webinar, please submit your questions using the Q&A section within Zoom. Our team will be answering those questions live following the presentation. One of the most common questions we receive is, will this webinar be recorded? The answer is yes, we are recording today's webinar, and we plan to distribute out both the recording as well as the slides in the next couple of days. This free webinar is brought to you by Caring.com. Now, for those joining who may be less familiar with Caring, Caring.com is a leading online resource for senior living and senior care. Our organization was founded by caregivers for caregivers. Our flagship website, Caring.com, was created and launched in 2007 to equip family caregivers to make better decisions, save time and money, and feel less alone and less stressed in providing senior care to their loved ones. Today, we have a portfolio of websites and referral services that millions of people use to research senior care. These websites include senioradvice.com and payingforseniorcare.com, just to name a couple. And thousands of senior living communities and in-home care agencies, just like yourself, partner with Caring to reach their target audience who is actively looking online for care solutions. One of the many reasons that caregivers turn to Caring is for our high integrity reviews program. We have over 350,000 reviews, with over 50,000 added in 2021 alone. And we'll be talking about how Caring's reviews program is a tool that you can leverage when it comes to generating more leads later in today's presentation. First, I'd like to start with some introductions. My name is Olivia Duke, and I'm the Director of B2B Marketing here at Caring. I'm serving as the moderator for today's webinar. More importantly, I'm pleased to introduce our featured presenter today, Georgia Mitchell. Georgia is a published business writer with over 15 years of sales training experience. She served as a sales leader at a Fortune 500 company, and her passion for senior care originated from the 5 years she spent helping individuals with Alzheimer's disease. Georgia currently leads our home care sales team here at Caring, and she works tirelessly to ensure that home care agencies who partner with us can continue to thrive. We are so excited to have her sharing some of her top sales tips with you today. Now, to walk you through the agenda for today, we're going to start off by diving into return on investment for online lead programs and what the key metrics are that you should be tracking if you're already operating or considering operating a lead program. Then we're going to walk through the levers that you have handy when it comes to generating more leads. Finally, we'll talk about closing those leads and what tips will help get your agency off of the phone and into the door. As I mentioned, we will use what time we have left at the end of the presentation for a live Q&A. And at that time, we'll address any of the questions that have been submitted throughout the presentation. If we do happen to run out of time, we will do our best to answer those over email as well. Now, to get things started, I'm going to hand it off to Georgia to talk through considerations when it comes to return on investment. Over to you, Georgia.
Hello, everybody. My name is Georgia Mitchell, and I'm more than glad to be with you here today. Thanks for attending the webinar. We'll talk about ROI considerations that are really important to home care agencies especially, but can be applied to home health agencies as well. So one of the things that's really important when you're looking at ROI considerations is understanding your metrics. Apologies, we're having a small technical glitch. Olivia, would you be able to click through the slides? It looks like I'm sticking a little bit.
Absolutely.
Thank you so much. And if we could just go back right there, perfect. So ROI considerations are really, really important when you're trying to build and maintain a great home care and healthcare agency. There are several ratios that will help you identify the health of your business. And when on the next slide, you'll see a couple of them. And I'll give you a moment to just look at those to kind of take them in. We're going to do some math early on in this presentation, but if you're not a math person, just hang in there. Take some notes, and when you come back, call us, talk to us. We'll be more than glad to tell you how this math could apply specifically to your business. All right, let's get started. First of all, what is ROI? It is an acronym for return on investment. Basically, how much does your agency earn for every dollar you invest? In this webinar, we'll discuss the ROI of your agency overall. Then we'll drill down into the ROI of your lead generation efforts. So let's review the metrics that lead you to an understanding of the ROI of your business. The first thing to know is your revenue per client. Easy enough, right? This is how much money each client earns for your agency, expressed as an average. You come to this by adding up all the revenue you earn from clients per month and dividing by the number of clients you have. The second thing you need to know is the average length of care. And you probably already know this intuitively, but it's a great measure. It tells you how long you will likely keep clients in the future. This number helps you decide how often you need new clients to keep enough cash flowing throughout your agency. And as they say, cash is king. So it's a very useful metric, especially for agencies just starting out and agencies in highly competitive markets. The other thing that you have to think about, of course, is profit margin. While we're all in the business to do good in the world, we need to make a profit. It's the only way we can keep doing good. The math on this one's easy. It's income minus costs. The trick is to make sure that you're measuring all of your costs. Sometimes agencies overlook small costs that eat away at their profit margin. The last one, and we'll talk more about this throughout the presentation, is the lead conversion rate. That tells you two important things. First, it shows how effective your current sales and marketing activities are. And second, it highlights how much you need to invest in sales and marketing to maintain or grow your business. Let's talk about this a little more. In the home care industry, we need a steady flow of new clients. It's the nature of our business. Clients use your services until they move in with their relatives or until they need another level of care. Our client base is constantly evolving. Understanding your lead conversion rate is key to planning ahead so you can attract new clients to your business. Let's talk about this in more detail. To make the math easy, let's say you bought 20 leads last month. 8 of those leads ended up choosing a competitor. It happens. 2 of them didn't call you back. And let's say 4 of them ended up needing skilled care. 5 changed their mind about home care. And 1 signed on as a new client. Now, while making 20 phone calls and getting 1 client can be a little frustrating, the truth is that's a 5% conversion rate, which is really pretty good. Just converting 1 of these leads leads to a healthy ROI for your business. Let's see how that plays out in this example. So I'll give you a moment to look at the example, and you'll see there are a few numbers there. Again, don't be worried about the math. Let's look at what 1 client can bring you. In this example, your agency earns $2,000. In most areas of the country, that's a fair assumption. In some parts of the country, that's a conservative estimate. But this example shows you how to calculate your own ROI. So let's keep the example as simple as possible, and we'll focus on the process. In this example, the average length of care is 1 year. Again, this number can vary depending on your agency. The profit margin is 20%. And remember, this profit margin is after all of your expenses, not just payroll. Many of you are looking at this number and thinking, oh, my profit margin is higher. It could be, and congratulations. For this example, we are being a little conservative. And we know from the previous slide that the lead conversion rate is 5%. Most agencies report a conversion rate of 8% to 12%, and some outliers report a conversion rate of 30% to 50%. So our 5% number is a conservative estimate too. So what does that 5% really mean? Now that we've discussed ROI metrics in a general sense, let's look at the ROI based on the lead generation example we talked about earlier. In our example, the conversion rate was 5%, a low estimate compared to the feedback from agencies who use our services. Even at 5%, your return on investment, the amount your agency earns for each dollar you spent, is 200%. I'm going to repeat that just in case somebody was taking notes or writing an email out there. Even at 5%, your return on investment, the amount your agency earns for each dollar spent, is 200%. Give me a few moments to walk you through the math. You spend $80 on 20 leads, and in most areas of the country, you don't spend $80, but we'll stay with this number. Or $1,600, and you want a new client worth $24,000. Easy math so far, right? We all know 24,000 is worth a lot more than 1,600. Now multiply the 24,000 by 20%. Your net profit on this client is $4,800 for the year. But remember, you only spent $1,600 on leads to earn this client. That means your ROI is 200%. Most of us are people who love helping people, not necessarily people who love doing math, and that's okay. There are several ROI calculators on the internet, and you can always call us. We'll be glad to do that math for you based on your specific situation. So what does it really mean when you contact that many people? So in this chart, you can see lots of different options depending on the conversion rate. I'll give you a moment to look at that. So how does knowing your conversion rate help you manage your business? Once you know that your lead generation program has a positive ROI, and it's almost impossible for a lead generation program not to have a positive ROI, you can plan ahead for the number of leads you need each month to keep a great cash flow and earn profits for your agency. And here's how to do it. 1, decide how many clients you want to add each year. In this chart, we use 10, but that number can vary widely depending on your goals. And 2, use your lead conversion rate to determine how many potential customers you need in order to earn the clients you need. In this example, you would need 17 leads a month on average to earn 10 new clients a year if your conversion rate was 5%. So what can you do to improve your ROI? As many of you know, how and when you earn clients can vary. Leads are opportunities to earn clients. That means you can estimate how many leads you need. You might win the first customer, the 5th customer, or the 10th customer. So it's important to buy more leads than customers needed and to focus on overall performance. Next, you want to understand the numbers important to your business and be diligent about updating your numbers regularly. For example, you should be contacting your home care account executive to talk about your account and make sure that the account fits your business goals. Match your lead targets to your goals. If your goal is to maintain your current customer base and cash flow, take enough leads to develop relationships with potential clients. If you're in growth mode, take more leads. And last, increase your ROI by improving your conversion rate. Track your lead to an appointment ratio. Understand your appointment to new client ratio too. So let's talk about levers that will help you generate more leads once you've made a strategic decision about how many leads you need. There's 3 key areas to consider. First of all, you want to understand the online consumer. One of the things that we've learned is that online consumers have specific behavioral patterns that we'll talk about in a few minutes. Understanding those will help you make good decisions about where to put your marketing dollars. Second, build your online presence. And we'll talk about this in a little bit more detail soon. And last, you can increase your bid, your lead bid, and your cap, and that will help you flex to your business needs. So you'll see here 4 graphs, which are very interesting. I'll give you a second to read through those. This tells you the type of people that are searching online. People searching for a parent make up the largest portion of our users. This group is often faster to make a decision than those searching for themselves or searching for a spouse, given they often have higher acuity. And these researchers have minimal time. They're not going to spend too much time making a decision. They're not going to spend a lot of time deciding who to call. And just so you know, the other category is made up of other relatives, grandchildren, siblings, nieces, friends, and neighbors. As I mentioned before, in our industry, empathy is vital, not only in client care, but also in business. Think about the client experience when shopping for care. Often the client or someone close to the client is responding to a recent health scare, whether it's a fall, an injury, or illness. Many of the people looking for a home care agency are relatively new to the whole senior care landscape. They don't know their ADLs from their elbow. It's unlikely that they search for your agency by name. It is much more likely they will search for broad terms and phrases like in-home help. So they might not know about your agency, but they are very likely to find caring.com. The person searching online doesn't know what the options are. They don't know what's out there, and they're searching for generic high-level keywords. This is where Caring gets most of its traffic. People who are early in their search and want to learn more about what level of care they need and the options that are available. So when you measure the number of keywords for which we rank in the search engine and the number of times we show up at the top, Caring is far and away the highest ranking site. And you'll see a couple of examples of that here. In addition, we own several more of the highest ranking sites. What all this means is when we get a lot of traffic and companies listed in our directory have a lot more visibility. Because we rank so high on search engines, customers are very likely to see your listing in our directory. We also have all the articles and information that a potential client would be looking for, so they tend to linger longer on our websites. And finally, the directory nature of our site enables potential clients to research your agency. For these reasons, people are far more likely to learn about your agency through caring.com. So the big question is, when they learn about your agency, what will they see? And one of the things that we've learned is that agencies with listings of 15 or more, they see a higher lead volume and more calls from consumers. We tend to do a lot of educational material, and that tends to have our clients linger a little bit longer, they read a little bit more, and they come to you slightly more educated. On the next slide, we'll talk a little bit about the importance of reviews. One of the things that we know is that with plenty of reviews, usually come more inquiries. Listings with 15 or more reviews published see higher lead volume and calls from consumers. As you can see from the graph, the majority of adults over 55 read reviews, and they read an average of 7 reviews before making a decision. Even Google references our reviews. Everyone looks at reviews these days. Whether you're a partner with Caring or not, you need to pay attention to reviews. So the big question is, are online searchers finding you? In order to get your foot in the door, you have to have a presence online these days that will invite people to see you as a guest, someone they want in their home to do a home assessment, someone they'd like to have a conversation with, someone they would trust with their mother. So what can you do to create more visibility for yourself online? You can enhance your listing. Ask yourself, when people find my website or even my basic listing on caring.com, Do they linger to learn about my agency services, or do they quickly bounce? And for those of you who may not be up on internet jargon, bounce is a term common in the industry, and it basically means how long does someone stay on your site? Do they click it? Do they scan it? And do they click somewhere else? If so, they've bounced. We don't want that. We want them to stay so they really understand you and why you do what you do. Just like the yellow pages of old, a basic listing pales in comparison to what our partners have in our directory. We call their listings enhanced because they include the ability to add pictures, logos, awards, custom descriptions, and lists of amenities. They show up in the top of the listings, and they do not have competitors showing up when someone looks at their listing. So how do you boost your reviews with Caring? Caring helps agencies build their online reputation. And I hope you, after all of our conversation, you can agree with that. Our partners get free flyers with a review call-in number. No other business does this. We invite consumers to give us reviews that we post online for you. Instant alerts when a review is published. If you're a Caring partner, we'll let you know when a review lands on your enhanced listing so that you can read it and review it. And most people don't mind if you occasionally have a less than perfect review. It's the state of business these days, and it creates authenticity. But they want to see that you have responded to negative reviews. So make sure that you work a plan in to consistently check your web presence, consistently look at your reviews, and respond to them in a prompt, professional manner. It shows integrity and allows you to manage your reputation. Both of these services help agencies win the Caring Stars Award, our very coveted award given each year to all who qualify for it. Winners get tremendous PR from it and displaying this award on this and they can display the award on their listing. We had one partner win this award. They created a blog post to leverage the award and drive their business. Even if you don't get a single lead or client from us, managing your online reputation through the tools we offer is worth thousands of dollars every single year. You can't go wrong with a stellar reviews profile. So let's talk about the levers you have to adjust your lead program. As I said before, you want to talk to your account executive at least quarterly. Make sure that you're right-sized for your business needs. The first and simplest way to get more leads and more opportunities to earn clients is to request more leads. And remember, you have to estimate your lead budget based on your close rate and the number of clients you need. Using our earlier example, if you have a 5% close rate, you need 17 leads a month on average to earn 10 new clients a year. The second option is to raise your bid price. This works well in competitive markets. If you find that you aren't getting the number of leads you expected, for example, if you set a lead cap of 20 leads a month and you're only getting 15, there's a possibility that the bid price is too low for the market. I've seen situations where increasing bid price by only a couple of dollars doubled the number of leads an agency received. Market demand, driven mostly by the cost of living in different geographies, plays a major role in bid price. So it's important to keep it in mind when you review your bid price and bid cap. Especially in metro markets, it's possible you could be missing a potential client worth thousands of dollars because you were underbidding by $1 or $2. So what are the best practices for converting leads? Once you get the chance to call someone, how do you turn that person into a client? There's 3 things that can definitely help, and we'll go into more detail about these. The first is speed to lead. And I think you guys have probably all heard that at least once or twice, right? It's really important to connect with people quickly. But these folks tend to be in a state of crisis, and they need to hear your voice in a reassuring way, letting them know that you're there to support and help them. The second thing you need is a planned high contact cadence. You need to connect with people frequently. Sometimes conventional wisdom says 5 times or more before you can get a yes. And the last thing, which we'll discuss in detail, is conducting a home assessment. We've kind of gotten away from that over the last year or so because of COVID, but it's time to bring that back. It's time to go into people's homes and make a real connection with them before we ever ask for them to pay for care. So how well you convert leads has a lot to do with the way you approach the leads. Your sales efforts have to be aligned in the way a potential client wants to be contacted. And what that basically means is you have to listen and you have to adapt to what your client needs. Don't overwhelm your potential client with a ton of questions on the first phone call. This is the biggest mistake that agencies make in their selling process. They try to convert the customer in the first phone call. Remember, this person is probably overwhelmed, anxious, nervous about what's going to happen next, and really doesn't have the tools to have a full conversation with you because they don't understand our jargon, they don't understand any regulations, and they don't even know what's available to them. Your sales efforts have to be aligned with the way a potential client wants to be contacted. Your goal with the first phone call is to get a day, time, and location for an in-home assessment. If you find that clients aren't letting you get into the door, so to speak, look at what you're saying when you initially contact them. Consider how you say it. Does your tone convey empathy? Do you speak slowly and clearly? That way, someone who has a hearing or cognitive impairment can hear and process what you're saying. It's very, very helpful to have a calling script. If you don't take anything away from the rest of this webinar, please take the time to write a script. You only have to create it once, but you can tweak it as time goes on and discover what works best in your market and what fits your agency and represents it well. You also need to contact potential customers in a variety of ways. Perhaps a potential client with a hearing impairment is reluctant to speak on the phone, but more than willing to exchange emails or texts. They're much more comfortable communicating with you in a written visual means because they can do it with more ease. The same need for variety in communications applies to families as well. Did you know that millennials, the generation of people under the age of 35, shy away from voicemail? My nephew thinks it's rude to leave a voicemail, scolds me about it all the time. Major companies like JP Chase and Coca-Cola have said goodbye to voicemail altogether. It literally does not exist in their company. I read an article that put voicemail response rate at 4.8%. So if your agency is calling and leaving voicemails and you're not getting calls back, that's probably why. When you're working with the family of a potential client, it can be really effective to email and text rather than swap voicemails. There's also the immediacy of a text. Not only does it appeal to a younger generation, people who are now making decisions about care, but it allows you to get an answer quickly, and it allows them to reference your communications at a later date. The agencies with the highest lead conversion rates maintain regular contact with all of their leads in a way that have meaning. And that's what we mean by a contact cadence. For example, let's say you know that a potential customer is worried because his mom tends to fall a lot. Instead of calling him for the third time and asking him to use your agency, send him an email with tips on how to make his mom's home safer. He'll remember you, and when he's ready to make a decision, you'll likely be on the list. So the last thing to talk about is the in-home assessment. And as we mentioned before, many agencies have gotten away from this because of COVID regulations. Makes perfect sense. But now that COVID seems, hopefully, to be passing, it's time to get back to going to see the resident or the client in his or her home. Remember, the potential client might not understand your service or their needs. So during the in-home assessment, use questions to help potential clients express the pain in their present situation. Clinical questions will get you information. Open-ended questions will help you understand their experience. You want to uncover all the issues, not just the big ones. You want to talk to the potential client and anyone who's involved in their care. Uncover all the assumptions because there are plenty with a family just thinking about care for a loved one. For example, potential clients sometimes assume that their adult children want to help with laundry, cooking, shopping, etc. And they might want to help, but they have their busy lives and might not be able to. And that might be hard for them to admit. However, in your in-home assessment, you can start that conversation. And as a neutral party, facilitate some thinking so that you can add hours in a way that has meaning to the customer. Learn how everyone feels about the situation. I emphasize feel because, as you know, this is a very emotional time for families. They desperately need someone they can trust. So approach the in-home assessment with empathy and understanding. Not only does it align with our industry's mission to do good for those who need our help, it is a very effective selling tool. Forbes recently published an article called "Is Empathy the Most Important Selling Skill?" If you haven't checked it out, you should. It's a good read. So don't talk about how many hours you need or what you charge per hour until you know what they need. If you start off your conversations with your requirements, you're losing clients, I can promise you. Even if they ask you about your rates in the beginning of your conversations with them, redirect the conversation from you and your requirements back to them and what they need. You can say something very simple and customer focused, such as, before we go into that, I'd really like to understand how we can help you. What have you been experiencing lately? They will hear you in a whole new way when they understand that you care first about what they need and second about what you want. The other thing you want to do in the in-home assessment is build rapport. Try to tour the home before you start the assessment. At this point in the interaction, the family can view you as a guest or an intruder, and that depends entirely on how you're perceived at the beginning of the interaction. Then recap the reason why you're there and begin asking questions. There are 3 types of questions to ask during the in-home assessment. First, you have to get the basic information. This should be a quick confirmation of their contact information. Be quick, but not overly clinical. Second, ask questions to uncover the big rocks, so to speak. Ask who cooks the meals, who does the laundry, who cleans at home. Find out about hobbies and interests that the potential client loves to do but can't anymore. Learn about the ADLs. Find out about chronic conditions. It's good to have a form for this part of the assessment. As you learn the answers to these questions, ask follow-up questions. Find out how the potential client and family members feel about the current situation. If your potential client mentions a recent fall, don't let that pass. Follow up on that. Explore what happened and how everyone feels about it. And find the small pain points too. Let's say a granddaughter comes to the home on Saturday to clean, do laundry, and cook for the week. Well, that's a lot to do every weekend, right? And the grandmother really isn't getting quality time with her loved one. Often these little inconveniences, frustrations can wear on family relationships over time, and you can ease that pain. As you learn more about ways your agency can assist, make a note with an estimate of the hours needed to complete the task. You'll need that information when you build the family care plan. So what does that entail? Well, before you tell them your care plan, you want to summarize everything you heard everyone say. This is an extra step and not a lot of agencies do it, but it's very important because it changes the dynamic between you and the potential client. Just by repeating back what you heard, you shift the dynamic from a conventional sales pitch, no different than buying a car or a house, to a consultant role. You become someone who is educational and helpful. Literally repeat it back to them during the assessment. Using our example with the grandmother and the granddaughter, you could say, so every Saturday, you come to the house and spend the afternoon cooking, cleaning, and doing laundry, and that doesn't leave you much time with your grandmother, does it? Is that right? Explore that with them. Help them feel how wonderful it would be if someone from your agency took those chores off their to-do list. They might agree with you or they might clarify. Either one is good. You want a full understanding of the family situation and how everyone feels about it. So once you uncover all the pain points, show them how you can ease their pain. What can you do that provides real value to them? How can you serve that family? Demonstrate your expertise. Focus on the solutions you can provide to help them lead a better life. Once they understand you and you understand them, you present your care plan. But resist the temptation to talk about money and hours just yet. Ask for everyone's opinion of the care plan and refine it as needed. Only then do you talk about hours, cost, and payment. Follow this process and you'll earn more clients, and those clients will take more hours.
Wonderful. And just to recap what Georgia discussed today, make sure you're looking at the entire picture when it comes to calculating return on investment for leads. Work on optimizing your online presence and using your bid and your caps as levers for generating more leads. And then focus on the sales best practices that Georgia walked through and make sure that you're converting as many clients that are right for you and you're right for them as possible. And that concludes the content portion of our presentation today. I've seen a lot of great questions come through that we can dive into with the time that we have left. Since we touched on our reviews program and the benefits of our reviews program with Karen today, we also have the director of our reviews program, Denise Grob, here with us, joining our panel to help answer any questions that you have regarding reviews. So if you have any questions that you've been holding on to or have popped up in the conversation today, please submit those using the Q&A feature within Zoom. Now, a couple of questions have already come through from people who have needed to join on a little bit later, or maybe they had to jump off early. And I just want to say we are recording today's presentation, and I will be distributing out the recording to everybody who's registered for today's event. We will also be posting our recording and slides on our webinar archive on partners.caring.com. That's also a great resource if you'd ever like to go revisit past webinars that we've done. So we have some additional questions coming through that I would love to jump into. All right, this first question is great that we have Denise on today. Please talk more about Caring Stars and how to qualify. Denise, would you like to take that one?
Thank you, Olivia and Georgia, for having me here today. I'm happy to answer questions about reviews in the Caring Stars program. Caring Stars is a Service Excellence Award based on consumer reviews. Any home care agency can qualify based on their reviews profile on their caring.com listing. And what we mean by that is the listing meets the criteria we set for the award. We set the bar high on purpose. We want that badge to really mean something to the consumers. And I gotta say, we've watched people use our website and they click on the listings and search results that have those badges and skip the ones that don't. So it can really make a big difference for your sales and marketing as a home care agency. You need a lot of great reviews. You have to respond to every 1-star or 2-star negative review, either by contesting it for fact-based errors and getting it removed before the deadline, or by publishing a professional response. And it's all negative reviews, not just the most recent. This criteria has been in place for years. And unfortunately, every year we have to disqualify some agencies because they haven't taken the time to respond to those negative reviews. I'd be happy to share with you the criteria for the 2022 award. It's all public facing. We're very transparent about the process and how agencies qualified. All you have to do is email reviews@caring.com and I will send over that information to you. Thank you for that question. I'm glad to hear people are already excited about getting it.
Well, Denise, we're going to keep the microphone over with you. We have another question here about reviews. Is there a way to take caring.com reviews that we get and add them to our Google reviews or Facebook reviews?
I love this question because usually we get it the other way around. Can they copy their reviews from Google and Facebook to their Caring listing? All reviews platforms have specific reprint guidelines for their platform. It's against the policies of Google and Facebook to just copy and paste reviews onto another site from their site, and conversely from Caring or from their site to Caring. So avoid doing that. You could get into a lot of trouble. It's copyrighted content, and it belongs to the consumer who published that review. That said, we do have some reprint guidelines and some suggestions for how to market the reviews you get on caring.com. And I'd be happy to share those with you if you email reviews@caring.com. I don't want to take over Georgia's webinar with all my reviews information. So feel free to just email reviews@caring.com.
Wonderful. And we actually have a couple questions popping up about the math on some of the slides. So, different rates, things like that. To just address a couple of them, on one slide we talked about you needed 10 clients throughout the year, and it was 17 leads per month to get that at a 5% conversion rate. Also, we have another question of, was it $80 for 20 leads? No, it was actually $80 per lead, which got us to the $1,600 number. So we will be sharing out these slides, and that would be a great thing to look back on if you're interested in kind of plugging in your own numbers. The math will still apply. So we'll have that resource for you as well. And it looks like we have another question. So for Georgia, we already work with Caring, but some leads come through that can't afford our services or need less than our hourly minimum. How do we stop these leads?
Well, first of all, thank you for partnering with Caring. Thinking about this question from a business perspective, I would say keep pursuing those leads. A phone call, email, or text costs your business really very little, almost nothing. And a new client earns your agency plenty of profit. So it really makes a lot of sense to leverage every lead, every potential client. It benefits you to keep talking to people, even if they don't believe they meet, even if you don't believe they meet your requirements, because their needs could change, and their understanding of our industry always tends to evolve. I would always do a home assessment before you decide that a lead isn't a good candidate for your agency. As we discussed in the presentation, many people are seeking care. They don't understand our industry. They don't have an accurate estimate of what they need. So as you learn more about the potential client's needs and the amount of family support, you might discover ways to add value beyond the client's initial expectations. This makes it easier to persuade the client to add hours or increase their budget. The last thing to consider, especially in our industry, is how the needs of the clients change. A client who only needs a few hours of companionship could easily need more care in a few months, weeks, or even days. So I would put that potential client into your regular contact cadence. That way, as their needs change, you'll be the first person on their list.
A great point, great point. Now, this question that came through, I think, is really relevant for the industry today. Do you have any tips when it comes to hiring? We can't take more clients until we have more caregivers. Georgia, what would be your advice there?
I'm grinning because we've been hearing that more and more often. It is a hot topic these days. Recently, it's certainly been an employee's job market. Caregivers can choose between multiple agencies when seeking employment, and it puts agencies in a difficult position. One interesting thing, caregivers research employers on the internet. If they looked up your listing, what would they learn about your agency? Now more than ever, agencies have to consider their visibility and reputation online. This helps agencies attract the attention of quality caregivers. A generation ago, a prospective employee might drive by a business to decide it was a good place to work. When I was 16, my mom took me to my first job, and she wanted to know, was the parking lot clean? Was the building well maintained? She didn't want her little girl going to work anywhere that didn't look right on the outside, because she felt like that really represented what would happen on the inside of the building. Those visual cues would encourage or deter her from allowing me to go work in that organization. Well, today, you have to consider that as your online curb appeal. It's another way that an enhanced listing can add value, especially one with pictures and lots of reviews.
Great. Well, I see another question regarding reviews. So we talked a little bit about reviews and kind of where they go, how they work. How does someone actually respond to reviews?
This is a great question, and it's actually a follow-on to what we talked about earlier, that qualifying for Caring Stars, you need to respond to those 1-star, 2-star reviews. So thank you for the person that asked this question. There's actually several ways to respond to reviews on caring.com. Our partners, as Georgia mentioned, get instant alerts when we publish a new review on the listing. And inside those alerts, which are sent via email, are quick links to publish a response or to request removal based on factors, for instance. That's for our partners. We are also, we are integrated with third-party platforms like Consumer Fusion, Review Trackers, and a few others, where you have a service where you can respond to your reviews not only on Caring, but on multiple websites through those platforms. They have to be integrated with us. And we have a list of those. You can contact me. I'll give you the list. The last way, and this is the most onerous, but this is for any agency that's not partnered with us, or if you don't have the review alert, you don't have a service, you simply email reviews@caring.com. Let us know which listing and which review and the response that you want published, and then we'll handle that for you. It's slower that way than the other methods I mentioned, but it's still an option for you. There's always a way to respond to reviews on Caring.
Great. And that wraps up the time we have dedicated for questions today. Now, we are going to be in touch with folks who asked questions that we weren't able to get to. And I think some were specific enough account-wise that I think that would be great for getting you connected with your account executive and talking through that. So we will be in touch for those who submitted questions. And just to recap, what we've covered today, make sure you are measuring your overall performance and know your numbers to determine the return on investment for online leads. Use those numbers to set appropriate targets when it comes to your lead program, and optimize your sales practices to boost conversion, and in turn, you'll be boosting your return on investment for leads. For anyone interested in becoming a new partner, or if you're an existing partner and watching this webinar today made you realize you'd like to raise your lead cap, for instance, you can email sales_homecare@caring.com to become a partner and make those updates. Thank you all so much for joining today. We welcome your feedback on today's webinar. And if there are any topics that you'd like us to dive into in the future, we'd love to hear it. There will be a survey that pops up in your window as this webinar closes, and please let us know there, as well as you can contact the phone number and email listed on this slide. As I mentioned, I will be sending out this recording and the slides to all registrants. So you'll see this hitting your inbox, as well as you'll see it listed on our partners.caring.com website. And that's a great place if you'd like to stay on top of upcoming trainings, revisit past trainings, as well as I encourage you to follow us on LinkedIn, and you can stay updated on those as well. So with that, we will let you get back to your commendable work of helping seniors, and we hope you have a fantastic rest of your day. Thank you so much.